The time, the 13th century. The place, Assisi. A tiny walled city rising from the side of Mount Subasio in central Italy. Assisi, born as foreign nations fight for control of Italy, where the extremes of poverty and privilege face each other with menacing eyes. Assisi, beautiful, brawling, mysterious, mystical. Birthplace of Clare di Faverone, noble daughter of the city, friend and follower of St. Francis.
There, it's done. The last stitch. Philippa, Philippa, it's ready. The cloth is finished. It's perfect. It's the altar cloth for the cathedral in Spoleto. I promised Father Jacopo I'd have it ready for the feast next Sunday. Well, now it's complete. Do you like the stitch? Well, really, it's quite easy. You could do it yourself. You could make this cloth from start to finish from the flax. But you have to have time. And maybe you don't have that. I'll tell you how it's done. You gather the flax from the field, pulling it up by its roots. And then after drying, you lay it out on the wet grass to dampen in the dew. Then you let it dry again, and you comb it through with a hackle. And it's ready for spinning. Spinning is like meditation. I spin every day. I'm never without my spinning. What would they do without my altar cloths, all the churches throughout the valley of Spoleto? After the flax is spun and woven, Lady Agnes and Lady Philippa do the sewing, and I do much of the embroidery myself, with a special cross-stitch. Lady Agnes, she is the daughter of the mayor of Assisi. Now she is one of us, a poor lady of San Damiano. And Philippa di Leonara de Ghislerio, of the feudal nobility, now a servant of God. My, it's so early this morning. I'm sitting very still in the garden. The wild red poppies are in bloom, and the scent of genestra and oleander and myrtle linger on the breeze. It's so clear this morning. The air, the stillness, the fullness of my home, San Damiano, envelops, embraces me with a passionate longing to relive those days when Francis brought me to this humble place. Oh, forgive my reverie. I've not introduced myself to you. My name is Clare, Clare of Assisi, and this is my home, San Damiano. And here is my bed of straw in the corner of the dormitory, where I and my poor sisters also slept, and where for 28 years I spent myself during my illness in my battle for the privilege of poverty. You see, way back in time, when I was still forming in my mother's womb, she feared for my birth, finding solace before the crucifix in prayer. A voice spoke to her saying, "Fear not, woman, for you will give birth to a light that will illumine the world." But when I was born, it was to a family of nobility that meant power and wealth. Yet we were not spared the violence. I was but 5 when my family took me as refugee to Perugia. We, the Overduccios, had to flee. Assisi, the new commune, was consumed by feudal warfare. There was burning, killing, smashing, looting, destroying our palaces, our homes. The poor gave vent to their hatred of we who were the nobility. Barely do I recall that night in fear and haste when we made our way on the dangerous road to Perugia. But I remember well how on those uneasy days in exile, we learned from my mother, Lady Ortolana, to perform works of mercy for the poor. We learned to read and write in Latin, to sew, to be ladies, my sisters Agnes and Beatrice and myself. But I dreamed of being a martyr, in my visions filled with faraway places, as my mother told of her pilgrimages to Jerusalem, to Rome. My father, Lord Faverone, was a feudal lord. He was a knight. There were 7 knights in our family. And when I was very young, Uncle Munaldo took over. When I was 12, we returned to Assisi, and we began to rebuild the city in ruins. We returned to our palazzo home in the Piazza di San Rufino, and the city, amidst the color and excitement of the Meistersingers and many singers of Germany, and the troubadours, jugglers from France, was thriving. I loved the dance, the song, the merriment. Still, I pondered at the leper I saw on the street, the beggar at our door. One day, I saw a child, starved from lack of food, brought in a small cart with no casket, arm hanging stiffly, bones so frail, to be placed where only the poor dead lay. In horror, I watched the poor, dead, naked child pass me by. From that day, I saved food left over to be given to the poor. And meanwhile, stories flew about the one who had joined the band of poor ones, Francis, the son of Pietro Bernardone. When I was 17, on a Sunday, I went to the church across the way from my palace home. I stood in the back of the church. Il poverello, the poor one, was speaking. I listen. I see a man small in stature, dressed as a ragged beggar, barefoot, dark eyes burning within his small bearded face. I listen. I see. I feel his words aflame with the love of God, the light of God, the laughter of God. Is this the one that everyone has spoken of? Listen, he is saying, where there is poverty with joy, there is inner peace. Who are you? I have yet to discover. But this one thing I know, your love of God, this I also claim. I am 17. The rain of my hair falls streaming, flourishing down my young body. My blue silk gown rustles gently as I pass by. Yet who would know the wild beating in my heart as I slip out of the church to my palace home, to the safety of my room? They say I care for the poor, that I am devout in faith, yet who would know I long for something more, a greater love. They say I am beautiful, and I love the beauty of fine things. I love the comforts of home. I love my family. And Lord Ranieri, Di Bernardo, one of the finest noblemen in Assisi, has asked for my hand in marriage. Yet who would know why I have refused the offers, waiting for this mysterious moment. Oh, my Lord Jesus, how can I serve thee more? Take my life. I asked my cousin, Brother Rufino, who had already joined the band of poor ones, do you think you will see me? I went many times to see Francis. For 1 whole year, my companion, Bonaguel Fuccio, and I would meet Francis in the forest, and he would speak to me in words divine. And I dreamed that I would serve the poor, travel far and wide as servant of Francis and martyr for Christ. And I did follow Francis. I gave away all my inheritance to the poor. I followed him in a much deeper way than I ever dreamed possible at 18. It was arranged by Bishop Guido and Francis that I should go to him on March 18, 1212, leaving my home forever. Oh, that night of love, my betrothal to Christ. I remember as if it was yesterday how I left my home and went to Francis and the brothers at Our Lady of the Angels. Nothing can stop me now. I ought to be afraid. The palace is so still. I can feel the fresh spring breeze from my open window brush my warm cheek. The dazzle of my sparkling jewels lights the way as I descend the cold marble stair. My heart is beating like a bird's rapid beat. My soft slippers whispering make little sound. At last, here is the door, only to be used to carry out the dead. Heavy, imposing, blocking my way, just as the men in my family oppose me. They lay sleeping, unknowing. Oh, my dear mother, my sisters, how I'll miss them, longingly, terribly. My strength, my will, press upon the door with all the effort of my body and soul, as if to fight against earth itself in one ultimate, final conflict. It's opening to the fresh spring night, the silent shining stars, the gentle moon, to life, a new life, being born. Pacifica, my old companion, stands waiting. Pacifica, let us be on our way. And we came running through the trees. Excited whispers reach our ears. Soon, lights bob in the darkness. The brothers come to greet us with torches. And soon all the woods are alive with light, with sound, with joy, with laughter. And the brothers run beside us, through the archway of the branches, through the doorway of the shelter, to the rough and ready altar, where stands Francis, Angelo, Rufino, Leo. Francis, it's Clare. And Francis asks, what do you need here? And I answer, the mercy of God and yours. The brothers, Francis and Pacifica, stand in a semicircle in the glowing candlelight. My gown exchanged for a rough habit. My hair falls like skeins of heavy silk as Francis takes it in his hands and cuts it. It is done. I want only Jesus Christ to live by the gospel, to own nothing as a poor virgin. My Lord, my spirit receives your true light. I, the silver-winged dove, burning with the heavenly fire, I will show my footprints to my followers in my own way of walking. My spirit awakens in this place where a new army of the poor with Francis begins. I, the footprint of Mary. It all happened in Our Lady of the Angels. Haunted by angels, it remains a precious place for me always. Francis and I, the first brother and the first sister, were founders of a family. And I asked Francis if there were a place for me, a home in which I could live this new life. My mind was not completely at ease until Francis brought me to San Damiano, and here I cast the anchor of my soul in a secure sight. O Holy Lady Poverty, you live here. I shall make my home with you, become poor as the poor Christ, whom a poor mother placed as an infant in a narrow crib. I was but 18, and my sister Agnes 15, when we began our venture here, and not without fierce opposition from the family. But the Lord, through his grace, saw our number increase, and a mother would invite her daughter, a daughter her mother, sister would attract sister, and aunt her niece. Here at San Damiano, nestled among olive trees and guarded by ancient cypress. Listen, swallows sing, rain-washed spring. See the ivy climb the walls of old San Damiano. Behold the gift of God. And the townspeople came to our door, pleading to be heard, seeking for advice, charity, prayers, intercession. Lord Ugolino di Pietro went back to his wife, Lady Guidizia, after 22 years. And a son was born to them, just as I prophesied. And Brother Stephen, Francis sent him here. He was mentally ill. He came. We talked a while. I made the sign of the cross over him. And Stephen went to sleep in the place where I usually pray. After waking, he ate a little and went away healed. And the children came and were cured. So many came and were healed of inner hurts, bodily sores. A quiet light burned steadily at San Damiano. And the rhythm of our days and nights were prayers, 7 times, day and night. And our days were washed with tears, pregnant with prayer. Joy was there, and laughter too. It was a blessing. And the stream of this heavenly blessing sprung up in Spoleto Valley, not confined, but channeled into an immense river, for the newness of such great things went far and wide in the world. Still, I missed Francis. It was all so new. Francis admonished me for fasting too severely for my own health. Bishop Guido, Francis, you beg me to become Mother Abbess. But I am but 21, and it's been but 3 years since we arrived. We have left our titles behind. You insist? Oh, I see. A condition for our very existence. Well then, only as abbess, who is handmaiden, mother, servant. The first thing I did as Mother Abbess was to petition Pope Innocent III for the privilege of poverty, that our order be known by the title of poverty. Poverty in all things is in harmony with poverty of spirit, which is true humility. And he was just the first of the popes I had to contend with. Formidable Pope Innocent III, installed at age 37, politician, reformer, who strove to overthrow, to plant, to build from his position of power, bowed to Francis and myself in reply to my request by letter. His Holiness wrote, "He who feeds the birds of the heavens and clothes the lilies of the field will not fail you in either food or clothing. Therefore, we confirm with our apostolic authority your proposal of most high poverty, that no one can compel you to receive possessions." Unheard of in monastic tradition. Later, Cardinal Ugolino was commissioned to be the protector of the poor ladies of San Damiano, securing us tightly under the direct control of Rome. Cardinal Ugolino di Conti di Segni, Bishop of Ostia, was a solicitous friend of Francis and myself. He tried to be helpful, but he never understood. What I had won through Innocent III was destroyed by the rule of Cardinal Ugolino in 1219. That was the year that Francis and the brothers were in Syria aflame with the faith. In that year, the cardinal drafted a rule that made no mention of him, our founder, planter, Francis. Francis asked my advice to know the will of God. He asked us to pray to reveal to us whether it is better for him to preach or to pray. My answer came: tell Francis that God wishes him to preach to all the world. The hardest time for me was when I longed for Francis to come, and he never came. When he was in Syria, in Egypt, we were very worried about him. And when we heard of the martyrdom of the 5 brothers for the faith, our concern was even greater. I was ready to set out for Morocco myself, and my sisters were hard-pressed to restrain me. One day, Leo came to me to tell me what had happened to Francis while on Mount Laverna, amid the birches and the rocks, in prayer. Francis was visited from the heights of heaven with a seraph with 6 wings, from whom he received the holy stigmata on his flesh. And Leo brought Francis to us. I came to Francis in this holy place. He was ill, emaciated, exhausted, wounded, groping about in darkness, wounded feet and hands, stabbing pain, eyelids on fire. Francis rested here in San Damiano. For 50 days, he stayed in the hut we built for him in darkness. Francis, your wounds. Oh, Jesus, within your wounds, hide us. Here is warm brew. Drink. My dear, I brought you sandals. You will walk more easily. I made them myself. At the end, ill, poor, suffering, Francis sang and sang his song of praise to God and all creation. Elias and the brothers carried Francis in their arms to die in the cell beneath the trees at Our Lady of the Angels. At that moment came my illness, falling upon me with such vengeance, I thought I would die. Oh Lord, let me see Francis once more before I die. And Brother Maceo brought a message of comfort from Francis. Tell Lady Clare to banish the pain and sorrow she feels at the thought she will never see me again. Let her know that she and her sisters will see me and will receive great consolation from me. Francis' body, placed in a stretcher for his last visit to Assisi, came to San Damiano. Our dear one, our poor one came. Amid the singing of the clergy and the brothers and the people thronging about the procession, I at last had my moment of consolation. For one whole hour, the body of Francis lay before us, so we may bid him goodbye. I went to Francis, so small, so poor he lay. Father Francis, our dear one, our poor one, never to speak with you again in this life. Oh! Why have you abandoned us and left us desolate? All our joy is gone with thee. Who will comfort us in our poverty of spirit? O poor one among the poor, how bitter is the separation. How dire is your absence. How cruel your death. I cannot let you go. I take your dear hand in mine, wounded, pierced. And the procession goes on. And we can only watch till you are out of sight. We poor ladies, poorer still, without thee. And the rains came, refreshing the soil. Soft mists of autumn brought brown hues and wet, muddy roads. And still they came to San Damiano. It was cold, often. We missed Francis. Oh, Cecilia, thank you for this pillow stuffed with straw, so I can continue with my work. Cecilia, come, stay, talk a while. You know, my illness falls upon me with such vengeance since the death of Francis. Yes, I know there is still much work to do. Spinning the flax for the fine altar linens, praying for souls, healing the body, and writing letters. Tell me, Cecilia, what is the news of the day? Aha, so he has come. Pope Gregory IX has come to Assisi to proclaim to the entire Christian world that Francis, the son of Pietro Bernardone, is a saint. Yes, time flies swiftly. It's only been 2 years since our dear Francis left us, and 1 year since Gregory became Pope. Previously, he was our dear friend, Cardinal Ugolino. But he'll come to see us. I can see him now, coming down through the olive groves to our conventino to see how we are. Oh, Sister Amata, he's already come. Well, then let him in, let him in. Aha, Your Holiness. Welcome. And how are your plans going? Well, I hope. And how are you? Oh, well, I'm not as quick as I used to be. Your Holiness, once again you beg me to receive possessions. It is only my faith and perseverance that blocks your way. Poverty è nulla havere and ogni cosa possedere in spirito di libertate. And His Holiness dispensed with the brothers who preach for us. There would be no one to preach for us, no one to tend our souls. I immediately went on strike, the first recorded hunger strike in history. We dispensed with the quaestors. There would be no one to beg food for us. Needless to say, His Holiness acceded to my wishes, and on September 17, 1228, we received from him his own privilege of poverty. And His Holiness commissioned Cardinal Reynaldus to be our protector. And he grew in understanding through the years. And it's such a comfort to have my mother, Lady Ortolano, with us, and my younger sister, Beatrice, because my other sister, Agnes, has gone to Monticello, near Florence, to be Mother Abbess, and we miss her very much. But it was another Agnes who wrote to me, seeking my counsel. Agnes of Bohemia was beautiful, they say, Agnes of Prague, daughter of King Premysl Ottokar I, and Queen Constance of the Hungarian Arpa dynasty, had darkest shining eyes, direct and deep, lithe and quick, of noble bearing. She had a head full of insistent plans to help the poor and sick of her nation. No pawn would she be of king and monarch who sought her hand in sumptuous marriage. For Agnes of Bohemia, it was the friars in 1232 that captured her allegiance and inspired her to build a new convent for the poor ladies in Prague. It all happened in the spring of 1234 that a new community of poor ladies came to be in Prague. During an immense public celebration, Agnes and 7 other young women of Bohemia and 5 of the poor ladies of Italy entered the new monastery. And I wrote Agnes, as she too was having difficulty with Pope Gregory IX. I told her to persevere. What you hold, may you always hold. What you do, may you always do, and never abandon. But with swift pace, light step, unswerving feet, so that even your steps stir up no dust, may you go forward securely, joyfully, as a poor virgin. Embrace the poor Christ. Consider him. Contemplate him as you desire to imitate him. In the night, in the dark night, I must pray. I weep for the suffering of those who are brought to us in need, for the souls of my sisters, for my Lord, despised, rejected, the poor Jesus, naked on the cross. Assisi seems vulnerable in the hazy autumn air as Frederick II captures easy prey. 20,000 fierce horsemen and archers had he on command. After capturing Sicily, towards Rome marched the warriors. When we heard that they were in the valley of Spoleto, Assisi was in a paroxysm of fear. Terror spread everywhere. There was news of pillage, slaughter, destruction. They had arrived in Assisi. At San Damiano, it was a Friday in September. My sisters were at prayer, and I was on my bed, very ill. And my daughters ran to tell me, Mother Clare, glints of helmet and sharp barbaric pikes can be seen moving through the woods, pallid green. And Cristiano runs to tell me, Mother Clare, swarthy faces peer over the convent walls. An illuminata cries, Mother Clare, they have come down into our convent. All were greatly afraid. My daughters, bring me to the door of the refectory and bring the blessed sacrament and hold it high. And we went quickly to the refectory door, and there stood the men, 5 in all, dark, angry eyes, red turbans, suits of gold, flashing swords. And I began to pray. O Lord, look upon these servants of yours, as I cannot protect them. And Lord, save the city as well. And a voice spoke, saying, do not fear, I will always protect you. And the men drew back in surprise, eyes bulging in amazement. My daughters, do not fear, for I am held hostage for you, so no harm may come to you. And the men began to steal away over the convent walls, through the olive groves, and into the night. Pope Innocent IV was the second churchman to write a rule for my order, trying to place us in a position of security, attempting to please us and the world. He would not have us starve, and yet would not have us be a burden on others. He wasn't listening to God. At first, I was discouraged in despair. By 1250, he had retracted the rule. This is enough, said I, and I set out to write a form of life for all the poor sisters of San Damiano throughout the world. A woman to write her own rule? It's never been done. Never been done, said I. But we've given our lives for this. My daughters, I have begun to write a form of life for all the poor sisters of San Damiano, based on what Francis gave us. I would like a simpler, truer document. I want to ask, how would you express how we live together? Ah, Maria. Yes, the term, strangers, pilgrims, that is a very good term for us. Benedetta, you are quite right to be more explicit. We do not have a house, we do not have property, or anything at all, or any possessions, or any land, except what is necessary for the monastery, and a small garden. And so many ideas came forth. It often happens that the Lord reveals what is best from the least among us. But how long will it take? Yes, my own sister Beatrice, I know he is in Lyon, France, due to uprisings in Rome. But I must see the face of this Pope before I die. I must see him and have his approval of our form of life for the poor sisters of San Damiano. And I waited and waited. It's Christmas, 1252. A cold night at San Damiano. I'm very ill. There is no one here but me. All my dear ones have gone to the other side of town, to the great basilica for matins. Look, God, at how I have been left alone in this place with you. All of a sudden, I hear heavenly music, the jubilant singing of the brothers. Oh, and the crib of Grecho, with child and ox and ass. I almost see Francis there. Oh, thank you, Lord. And my sisters, when they come to me the next morning, I say to them, the Lord did not leave me as you did. On the contrary, I heard all the solemnities celebrated this night at the Church of St. Francis. My body is so worn, attacked by fresh affliction. Pope Innocent IV has come to Assisi to dedicate the upper church of Brother Elias, and at last comes to San Damiano. Your Holiness, you come to me when I lie here so ill. Welcome. You know the desire of my heart, and I believe that it is you who will give me that desire. My form of life for all the poor sisters of San Damiano throughout the world needs your approval. And for this, I beg to kiss your blessed foot. And His Holiness, after he had heard my confession and I received the Blessed Sacrament, left pondering, thoughtful. But how long will it take? How long? As my body grows weaker, the devotion of the people grows stronger. And villagers come to visit in twos and threes and fours. For 17 days I cannot eat, but the good Lord consoles me. Sister Amata, do you see the King of Glory as I do? Cardinal Rinaldus, you assured me that my form of life would be approved. Has no document arrived? Brother Immortus, it has come, the approval from Perugia. Come, Bring to me the document. It has come, it has arrived. And I take it in my hands and kiss it many times, many times. Oh, blessed simplicity. You have won, O most holy poverty, the sole unweary. You have won. My soul, go in peace, for you will have a good escort. The one who has infused the Holy Spirit into you, and then guarded you as a mother does her littlest child. Who am I speaking to? Why, Anastasia. I'm speaking to my blessed soul. All around me are my loved ones. The sisters poor, Angelo, Giles, Juniper, Leo. Preciosa, in conspectu Domini. Blessed be you, my Lord, Jesus Christ.
Oh, Clare, shine brilliantly, bright before your conversion, brighter in your manner of living, brighter still in your enclosed life, and brilliant in splendor after the course of your mortal life.
Chiara, illumina brillante con i valori gloriosi, con lo splendore della grande gloria in cielo e con la luminosità degli sublimi miracoli sopra la terra. Oh Chiara, chiara prima della tua conversione, più chiara nella tua maniera di vita, anche più chiara nella tua vita racchiusa e brillante nello splendore dopo il corso della tua vita mortale.
My sisters, courageous, strong, joyous daughters of light, and women of all the world, in your tender memories, think of me, Clare, as I am. Strive always to imitate the way of holy simplicity, humility, and poverty. My very dear sisters, those present and those to come, you have my blessing, your mother and servant. I, Clare, a servant of Christ, a little plant of our most holy Father Francis, a sister and mother of the poor sisters. I bless you during my life and after my death. Always be lovers of your souls and those of your sisters.
Clare of Assisi is available on home video. For information or to order, call toll-free 1-800-233-4629.